Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from just west of Winslow, Arizona. I hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling, what are we up to? Shake It Up Saturday. Sorry, my brain's a little fried today. So how was your Shake It Up Saturday? What spontaneous thing did you go out and do today to shake your day up? What thing did you learn something new? Did you try something new? What did you do to shake up your Saturday? Did you put some great music on and have good dancing and everything, or not? And I had a phenomenal day. We had our mastermind group on today, which was awesome. We had a special guest come in who gave us so much information that I now have writer's cramp yet again. Thank you, John, for the writer's cramp. Appreciate it. But it meant that I learned a lot and I was taking lots of notes, and he was dropping golden nuggets after golden nuggets after golden nuggets. It was hailing golden nuggets today. Not raining, hailing golden nuggets. It was incredible. And I know I missed probably about two-thirds of what he said, managed to only write down about a third of what he said. So can't wait till we get the recordings and I can go back and do some more detailed notes. But I already got 10 pages of notes today. On top of a whole bunch of screenshots that I took at the same time, because I figured I can't get that down now. I'll make little asterisks in my notes, put screenshot, so I know to go look at that screenshot when I go back over my notes again. But it was a phenomenal day. Just finished having lunch. I know it's 4:50 in the afternoon. I just finished having lunch. I had to take a breather, play with Zeffy for a bit, which reminds me, Zeffy, what did you do with Ruby? Where's Ruby? Oh, Ruby's over there. Ruby has lost the second ball. So Ruby has no head and no body support. And the second ball has lost its squeaker. So the only squeakers left in Ruby are her 4 feet. That's it. So she's slowly being de-squeaked. Which I think is absolutely hilarious. She's so funny about that. She really is. What'd you do with Ruby? Where's Ruby? Just sneezing. She's got the sniffles today. Yeah, now she's gonna have a big feed. But yeah, she was really good. Although at one point this morning she started, thankfully we were all on mute, because she started playing with her with Ruby today, and squeak, crack, 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 and then she got the ball out of the head portion of Ruby and started throwing it around. She throws her balls. She shakes her head and lets it fly. That's her way of doing it. Shake the head and let it fly. Then she'll go and pounce on it. But she eventually got the squeaker. I found the ball in one area, the rabbit in another area, and the squeaker in another area. So she had a blast. And then she went and hibernated in her crate today and hid from everybody. But yeah, she did. She had a fun day with that today. And she got to play with Ben, who was a dog slightly smaller than her. They ran around a little bit together in the dog park this morning, which was kind of nice. And and I had something I haven't had for a while. I had porridge for breakfast this morning. I don't know what it was. I just felt like making porridge, and I have steel cut oats, and steel cut oats are actually gluten-free. Which I thought, yes. And you can cook them in the Instapot. So, but just before we left for the walk, I put the oats in the Instapot with the water, a little bit of salt, a little bit of vanilla essence. I didn't do cinnamon. I put that on afterwards. And then set it to go, and then when we came back, it was ready. So, and because in the Instapot it puts it on for a certain amount of time, then you let it do a natural release. And so it was ready by the time we got back, so I got to enjoy that with some coconut milk on there and a little bit of brown sugar, and you got to caramelize the brown sugar on top of the hot porridge first, then you put the coconut milk on. So it was not real brown sugar, it was what did we use? Was it stevia? It was one of the sugar substitutes that has a brown sugar option with it. It was really yummy. So like, wow. It was really like 80 degrees outside, and I was inside having porridge. I love my porridge. So that's kind of cool to know that I can set that and come back and it's ready to go. So very happy about that. And today's genealogy question comes from Tyler. Tyler would like to know what sort of information you can find out at cemeteries. Oh my gosh, cemeteries are one of my favorite places to walk through. I know that sounds really weird, but I love going to cemeteries and reading tombstone inscriptions, and I just find something peaceful and calming about the cemetery. Even the one where I go visit Brad, afterwards I like going up into the military area where it's up on top of a hill, and you got this gorgeous view out over the San Diego area, around the area where he is. And if the jets are flying, you get to see the jets from the Miramar base, Marine Corps base there. You get to see the jets flying in and out, which is kind of cool because I like my jets. But yeah, I just love cemeteries. I love just walking around among the rows, reading tombstones and all that. And there's, some of them have little symbols, and based on the symbols you can tell if it was a child that died at birth, if it was if the person was in the military, what branch of the military they were in. There's ones that will have association emblems on there, like the Freemasons, and that sort of thing. So other things you can find out is you can find out names, of course, names, birth and death dates. So if you come across a tombstone that just has Thompson family, or just has Thompson, and there's no names of anybody that's in the grave, you can go to the cemetery office and ask for the information about that particular grave. I just go in and say, hey, look, I'm researching family. I know that we have somebody in here. I don't know where their grave is. So I find out from them. They look it up I tell them the name I'm looking for. They'll look it up on their computer system. They pull out a map. They show me exactly where the grave is, where they are, where the grave is, so I know how to get there. And then they can actually give you the records of who is inside the grave, because not everybody in the grave is listed on the tombstone. So remember that. So and sometimes on the records they will also have any birth dates and death dates that they have on record, and also the date that the grave was open to put somebody else in the grave or ashes into the grave. So it's kind of cool. So and then so yeah, names, birth dates, death dates, or it could even just be the years that are on there, but the cemetery records may have more details. But at least it gives you a starting point if it's just the years, because then you can go back and look for birth certificates and death certificates for those people as well. There's relationships are found on there too, like you might have loving husband of John, loving husband of Mary, and you might have Mary's death dates in there if she's already passed as well, because if you're looking after ancestors, usually you look for the ones. And then it may also have and their son, blah, 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 blah. Or it may have loving parents of, and then have the children's names listed. And typically when they list the children's names, it's in age order. So they start with the oldest and list down to the youngest, typically. Not always, but typically. So you might find that. And of course, when you get the plot records, you may find there's more people in there than what's listed on the tombstone. I know that I had, my great-grandparents had a daughter that died when she was 5, and there was her grave, and we had to go down to the county office to find the information of who was in the plot, and found out that's where my great-grandparents' ashes were, but there was no plaque there for them. There is now, but there wasn't at the time when we first found that. And sometimes you'll also find in there babies that you didn't know existed because they born and died between census dates, and so you didn't know to look for them. If you're in places where they don't release the census information, then that's a good way of finding out that there are other children in the family as well. So you can find that, and sometimes too they will have they won't put the infants in the parents' plot. They'll have a separate area of the cemetery for infants. Like they have a separate area for the for military. And most cemeteries, you'll go in there and you'll have the general population area. Then they may have a veteran section over to the side, over in some area. You can usually tell where that is because there'll be flags flying, and they're usually just plaques on the ground. And they will have on there, they'll quite often have on there, for some of the older ones, they will have what rank they held. It may have their service number on there. What branch of the military they were in, so all sorts of good information held there too. Sometimes, this is a sometimes one, you will also find the maiden name for a female because she may be buried in her parents' plot but under her married name. And they may have, Mary and John and their daughter Suzanne. And Suzanne might have a different last name on there, and that could be her married name. And so now you found out that there's her, Mary and John Jones, and their daughter Suzanne Baker. And so now you know that Suzanne Baker, if it was their daughter, was a Jones to start with. So now you've got another clue for helping you find female relatives. Isn't that amazing what you can find? Although I don't like the ones where they turn around and say, John Jacob Jones, birth date, death date, and his wife. Who was his wife? It's got all of his details there, and then his wife. Don't like those ones. But sometimes the cemetery records or the parish records, if they're buried in a churchyard, sometimes the parish records will reveal what the name of the woman is that is in that grave. So there is those records as well. And then you've got any symbols there, for, like I said, for memberships for fraternity societies, religious organizations, unions, military, everything like that. There's different symbols for different things that mean different things as well. Sometimes, very rarely, they will have an immigration or a place of origin where they came from. Very rarely. But sometimes you will get that information. You may get that information on their death certificate. You'll definitely get that information on their death certificate when it asks where and when they were born. So you'll get that thing there. On the religion side, if the person's buried in a cemetery related with the church, then you'll know what religion they are. The cemetery where Brad is, it has different sections that are set aside for different, like there's a Greek Orthodox section, there's a certain Jewish section as well, and I can't remember, it's got the name of the name of the temple, and that's their area. So some religious organizations may have a section within a cemetery, or they may have their own burial plot at the church, have their own graveyard at the church. And occasionally, and this one cracked me up because I was looking through different articles and things, and I came across this one. I thought, okay, I have never seen a cause of death on a tombstone, but this particular article I was reading on the Family Tree magazine site, this one, they said very rarely, but it might be, they say here, very rarely it might be engraved on the headstone, on a headstone, like the examples on this Root Webs page, and it's got a link to go to the page. They included, was killed by a fall from a building. Another one said, this one, I'm sorry for laughing, but this one cracked me up. It said, while viewing a span of horses, he was suddenly kicked by one of them in the lower part of his bowels. I thought basically he was kicked in the ass. Oh my goodness. But then there's also times that so those are some very, very rarely will you see stuff like that on there. On celebrity ones, you may see their favorite line, like I know who was it, the guy that that came up with Bugs Bunny and all of them, can't think of his name, but on his gravestone it's got "That's all, folks." It's written on his gravestone. And if you go around, what's the cemetery? It's one of the ones in Hollywood. It's in Hollywood. It's a Hollywood one. You can walk around because I know it's where my in-laws are. Members of their family are there as well. So I know my husband's ancestors are buried in that particular. Some of them are buried in that particular cemetery, along with some of his aunts and his great aunts and uncles, that sort of thing. And so sometimes we'd go driving around and look at some of the celebrity tombstones. And I remember the guy that did Bugs Bunny and all of that has got written on his tombstone, "That's all, folks." So you can find some stuff like that too when you're looking at some of the tombstones. But another one could be like a woman, if there was an infant buried with her and they've got the same death date, she may have died in childbirth. Or if you find an infant in the infant section and find the parent in the different section with the same dates, it could be that she died in childbirth. So there are those sorts of things that you can figure out that way. And also too, if you find a lot of stuff around the same date, a lot of stuff around the same time and dates and everything, go and check, because there may have been an epidemic on at that time. And so there was a lot of deaths during that time. Like there might have been an influenza that had gone through and wiped out a village or a city, or if you go back to like in Europe and stuff, where they used to have like a plague would go through, and so you had a lot of people that died around those same times. So if you look at the dates and that and then go research, you may find that that there was an epidemic there was a plague going through, there was I don't know, a tsunami, there could have been floods, there could have been some natural disaster that had come through the area. So you can find out those points in history. And again, it's connecting your past to those points in history. So when you find out something that, like there was might have been a hurricane came through that area at the time and these people were killed, then you can go back and learn more about that hurricane, and now you have a tie to that event in time. And when you have a tie to that event in time, it makes it more real and more alive for you. I know when I go visit places that my grandparents, my great-grandparents and stuff have lived, I feel a connection with that place. Even though I never went to that place because, you know, they were the places where they grew up. Like I went past the house, I know where the house is in Dunedin where my grandfather grew up, and I go past that place, I just feel a connection with that house, and I really love to go and knock on the door and say, hey, my grandfather was raised in this house, can I come have a look through? I'm not that ballsy. I'm ballsy in some things, but not that ballsy for that sort of stuff. But and then around Wellington there was a place where my grandmother grew up, and my mum we used to go driving up in the hills, and she'd go, oh, see that yellow house up there? That's where Nana was a girl. And something about my great grandmother being laid on the table or something, and pennies put on her eyes when she died, and that sort of thing as well. So all sorts of stories that can come out of that sort of thing. But yeah, so at cemeteries you can find a great wealth of information about ancestors and things. You can find about relatives you didn't know existed because they are now in the family plot. You can find out, you can uncover some family secrets. Like for example, if somebody was married but their husband wasn't buried with them and they were buried in the family plot, it could be that the family had something against the husband, or they may have divorced at some point. So you can find out all sorts of interesting stories about things. Like I've discovered on some research that I have done that the daughter was put into the plot with her parents but not with her husband, and upon doing some further research, we discovered that the family did not like the husband, refused to bury their family member with her husband, so put her into the family plot rather than with her husband as per her request. And I thought, well, I hope she comes back and haunts you for that. So you can find out very interesting stories on things. And then you can find some plots where the in-laws are included, like the son-in-laws are included in the plot. With the rest of the family as well, so you know that was a very loved in-law. So all sorts of fun stories can come out of things at cemeteries. So Tyler, I hope that answers your question about some of the information that you can find at cemeteries. I'm off to enjoy the rest of my evening and give my brain a rest, give my wrist a rest. Try saying that fast. Oh, I need to go find a campground for tomorrow night first, because we're leaving here in the morning. So we'll do so after I've had a break, we're going to do some prep, get everything packed up as much as we can for tonight, and then we'll do the rest of the pack up in the morning. We're going to do a dump on the way out, because we're on a site that's just water and power only. So we'll go do a dump, which means that when it comes to the next campground, we can just go power and water only, which is cheaper than the one, which is usually $5 to $10 a site cheaper a night than one that has a full hookup. So yeah, going somewhere with freshly dumped tanks means that you can save some money at campgrounds. So that's it from me for tonight. We will talk to you guys tomorrow morning. And I know it's Sunday, it's Serenity Sunday, and I usually don't like traveling on Sundays, but got to get in and out of Phoenix real quick, and they're going to be in the 90s tomorrow, but they've got severe thunderstorms coming through, and they're going to be in the 90s tomorrow and Monday, and some areas around that area are going to be in the high 90s, low 100s on Tuesday when we head out of town. So we're taking this opportunity for the break in temperatures to get in and out of Phoenix really quick, because Phoenix is kind of on that border of driving distance for me. So plus, I know we're still good on groceries, so I'll probably save the grocery shopping until after we get out of Phoenix. Yeah, because we're gonna have about a 4-hour drive tomorrow anyway, so I really don't want to throw grocery shopping in on top of that. But anyway, have a super fantastic sparkling rest of your Shake It Up Saturday, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for Serenity Sunday. Hei konera.